You're watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. From Toronto, Ontario, I'm Samia Sayed. Welcome to the show. Coming up, we have an interview with Ehab Lotayef, the co-founder of Muslim Awareness Week. But first, the headlines. Canada to give defensive tools to Ukraine and increase military training. Quebec mosque leaders call for national action on gun laws. First Nations community sues Manitoba for breaching constitutional duty. Germany marks International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And now the details. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced yesterday that Canada will send defensive tools to Ukraine instead of what the Ukrainian embassy had originally requested, weapons. In addition to providing bulletproof vests and night vision goggles, Canada will also add soldiers to Operation Unifier, a group of soldiers tasked with training Ukrainian troops. The Prime Minister did not rule out providing weapons in the future, but says that Canada's best offer at this time is to provide non-lethal support. Ukraine remains threatened as Russia stationed around 100,000 soldiers along their shared border. Britain and the US have provided Ukraine with offensive weapons. The Islamic Cultural Centre's Mosque leadership has sent a letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino urging them to pass a national gun control law. The letter pleaded that the federal government not leave gun control up to the provinces and pointed out that guns are a national issue. It noted that no province has moved forward with banning handguns since the government's declaration in its November throne speech to support provinces who do so. The letter notes that today, an attacker can acquire the same arsenal used during the mass shooting in their mosque 5 years ago. Members of Pine Creek First Nations are suing the Manitoba government, claiming that it neglected its constitutional duty to consult the community about logging operations on Duck Mountain. The community has relied for decades on the mountain for food and spiritual practices. According to the lawsuit filed on Tuesday, the First Nations claim that the province did not consult the community before extending Louisiana Pacific Canada's logging license for the mountain. Continued logging operations have depleted the mountain's resources. The lawsuit is aimed at halting the logging operations and reaffirming the constitutional obligation to consult the First Nation in all future licenses. A ceremony was held in the National Parliament of the Federal Republic of Germany to mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day today. January 27th marks the day the notorious Auschwitz concentration camp was liberated by the Soviet Army. The ceremony remembered the 6 million Jews murdered by Nazis over 70 years ago. Holocaust survivor Inge Auerbacher attended as a guest of honor and recalled the dark memories of her time in a concentration camp. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier said that the Holocaust memory should continue to be kept alive and pledged to stand firmly against any form of anti-Semitism, racism, or discrimination. That's it for the news. Now with us, we have Ehab Lotayef. Brother Ihab is the IT manager at the Department of Electrical Engineering at McGill University and the co-founder of Muslim Awareness Week. Welcome, Brother Ihab. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about Muslim Awareness Week? What is it?
Muslim Awareness Week is a series of events that are held on the last week of January, the week where we are commemorating the massacre in Quebec City in 2017. And it is a series of events that tries to get the society at large to know more about the Muslims living among them. It is not it's not a religious event per se. It is not about what Islam is. It is rather about who Muslims are, what are their contributions to society, what are their concerns, worries, aspirations, and to know them as individuals, as human beings beyond the stereotypes.
Mm-hmm. So I see the term awareness with learning about Muslims or Canadian Muslims more specifically and being aware of their existence and how they operate. I want to ask, you mentioned that it started around the Quebec mosque shooting. What specifically happened or encouraged you to found this week?
In the first commemoration of the Quebec City massacre, we realized that there is a lot of empathy that comes up when people remember the massacre. Right after the massacre, the same year in January, February 2017, there was a lot of support. But a few of us came together and discussed really how would that empathy, how would that compassion really change the situation of Muslims in Quebec society, in Canadian society in general, and how would it make it a more healthier society really for everybody, not only for the Muslims. And we did realize, we reached the conclusion that empathy and commemorations alone will not cut it. If we want to move forward as a society, we need to combat the ignorance, the stereotypes, and the fear that exists among people towards Muslims. And thus was the birth of the idea of Muslim Awareness Week, to try to get people to know Muslims, who Muslims are really, and how they contribute to society. What do they do? Where do they work? As people, really, I can't emphasize enough that we are not trying to duplicate Islam information sessions that happen in universities, that happen in mosques sometimes with open doors and stuff like that. Our focus is really a different angle, and the angle about the Muslim people who are living in society as human beings.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned several collective terms such as we or our or us. Can you tell us a little bit about the other team members who started this week?
Well, we were all who started this week. We are Muslims at different levels of practicing, let's say. That's another thing we are looking at Muslim Awareness Week, because we need to make people see how diverse the Muslim community is. So we have all been active within or outside the Muslim community. We are all from Muslim backgrounds. There are men and women, younger ages, older ages. We have Samira Laoni, who is a long-time Muslim activist. Samal Ibiari, the same thing. We have Salam Musawi, who is also from a long-time Muslim activist in Montreal. We are also mixed Sunni and Shi'i Muslims, younger people as well. Some people who were with us the previous years, not on the board anymore, but still contribute to our events, like Hassan Gia, for example. So it is a small group, but a very well-established group of activists and community-involved people.
It's great to see that you have such a diverse team working on events for this week. Is Muslim Awareness Week only commemorated in Montreal?
No, actually, it is commemorated all across Quebec, and we're trying more and more to like brush off this Montreal-centric vision or perception. Yes, most of us do live in Montreal, but the goal and what we're working strongly for is to have events all across Quebec, and hopefully to extend all across Canada and all across the world if there is need for it, because I think there is need all across the world for something like Muslim Awareness Week. So this year we have events in Montreal, in Sherbrooke, in Quebec City, in Gatineau. We had events in previous years in Trois-Rivières. So we're trying really to expand as much as we can, because people who need to know about Muslims are usually people who are further away from Montreal. So doing our work in Montreal only doesn't really fulfill our goals.
It's great to see you spreading out from the Montreal-centric view. How about Muslims in other provinces? What can they do to start their own Muslim Awareness Week?
Well, really, Muslim Awareness Week is more about partnership than it's about organizing. What I mean is that we have depended on our partners in other communities, from other communities, to organize events themselves in partnership with us. And we have events happening in writers' clubs, in synagogues, in churches, in community centers, all across the spectrum. And this is what we would hope, we'd be open to share our expertise with Muslims anywhere in Canada, and as I said, anywhere in the world, on how to start Muslim Awareness Week, how to create partnerships and to work with those partners, because those partners have their own audience, and that makes the week much more effective in the outreach it achieves if we work with partners that way. Any group of individuals anywhere in the world, or in Canada, of course, that want to start Muslim Awareness Week, similar to what happened in, for example, Israeli Apartheid Week started in Montreal and then it spread to universities all across America. So we'd be very happy to share our expertise and see Muslim Awareness Week go beyond Montreal and Quebec.
You said in an interview that Muslim Awareness Week is for Muslims and non-Muslims to come together to learn and spark friendships. What is the importance of that?
The importance of that is that when you know somebody, when you work with somebody, when you become familiar with somebody, then that person's community is not a stereotype for you anymore, is not something distant that you might fear or not understand anymore. It helps really society become healthier. If we live in silos, then every silo will have some sort of worry, concern, maybe worse, maybe hate and misunderstanding of the other. So by building friendships, or at least acquaintances, is the only way, in our opinion, to be able to break the problems that we have, the problems that exist in a large scale underwater, but there are tips of the iceberg that cause a lot of damage, like what happened in Quebec City in 2017 or in London, Ontario last year.
In an interview last year for Muslim Awareness Week with CBC, you said that the media and politicians sow seeds of disruption into people that urge them to commit tragedies like the mosque shooting. Would you say that this is still the case?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, of course, I don't mean all media and all politicians, for sure not. But yes, and I have only to go to the example of Bill 21 that is increasing the difficulty for a homogeneous, friendly society in Quebec. And some right-wing conservative media do the same thing. This is a huge problem that we are trying to build by Muslim Awareness Week and similar initiatives, and they are just breaking down anything that we build. So that makes our job, our responsibility, our task much more difficult. But we have no option other than to continue trying.
Now, for a personal message for people who are watching, what can you tell them to do to commemorate the 5th anniversary, to go outside and, like you mentioned, reach out to these people? What can you tell them in a personal message?
Absolutely. I mean, commemorating the event and remembering that this tragedy happened, and this year is the first year after Canada announced that January 29th is a day against Islamophobia, and is very good. But also, I would not be able to encourage people enough to talk to the other, talk to anybody you might think does not understand what you are as a Muslim. Bring up your human face to people. I know this is not easy for many people. I know I'm not naive. I've been in the public sphere for decades.
Thank you, Brother Ihab, for joining us today and sharing your insight on Muslim Awareness Week in Quebec. You are watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV, everyone. That's it from our Toronto studios tonight. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more Canadian content. Stay safe, and until next time.